Hey everybody, Psychosaurus is here, and today I wanna talk about bonus damage protection, and namely with the new Esfandiyar's Divine Breastplate armor being really bad, and why is it so bad, and well, it goes together with the new quest being pretty much having the multipliers removed in solo. I think in co-op they still have them, but it's weaker. And I honestly don't know about this, but if someone could send me a screenshot of the enemy unit stats in Legendary Quest from co-op, I would love to see that. All you have to do is just send me a screenshot through the Discord. You can find me on the Project Celeste Discord. It's because I don't really like playing co-op. I don't really want to play co-op. I would love to for someone to send me a screenshot because I would really appreciate it because I'm planning to do some bigger project later, and it would really help me. And my question is like, because someone keeps telling like there are really high multipliers on those units, like something like 2.7. I'm like, what? No way. So I would love to see that in some way. So if anyone could help me, please, I'll be very grateful for any help. So please send me a screenshot. Okay, back to the topic. So yeah, bonus damage protection. It's somewhat situational. It's something like I would describe it as close to ignore armor is situational because ignore armor works against units that have pretty high armor. That's the best use for that. In case of bonus damage protection, it's somewhat similar, but it's defensively it's meant to defend against the bonus damage, and as you know, not many units have like multipliers against specific units, but those that they have some nice number. It could be 2, it could be 2.5, or even 3 times, and it can go even beyond, especially in legendary quests where the multipliers are, and those go up to like 1.9 times. I don't know why this number exactly, but never saw anything higher than 1.9 times in those solo legendaries. And yeah, I want to see for co-op if it's any higher, so that's why I kind of want to see it. So yeah, stacking, it's like bonus edge protection, really useful stat if you want to survive those counters to your units. So something like Esfandiyar's Divine Breastplate on your infantry units could be something useful, but I don't think it's that useful at all. Tunic of Actaeon, on the other hand, is much more useful on something like Berserker, Celtic infantry, and Norse infantry in general. This can be really good. And Minotaur's Golden Hide on Cavalry, that's really good because spearmen usually have really high multipliers. So yeah, and most of the times the gear is not the only source of bonus damage protection. You usually players use the Norse milestone, the adaptiveness, for 25% additional bonus damage. That's very standard because it makes your units much more tougher. It's really good milestone. If you're not using it, you should better start using it. Otherwise your units can be dying really fast. But I guess it gets less value on those newer legendary quests without multipliers. But it's still useful because I mean 15% melee infantry armor versus 25% bonus damage protection. I mean it's either you are protected from infantry, which can depend on what quest we are playing, okay? Because it can be only infantry, there can be almost no infantry. Whereas bonus damage protection helps you to protect against counters, so something like your cavalry against the enemy spearman, the bonus damage protection is really huge help. And the issue I have with bonus damage protection is the fact that when you stack it, because the more you stack it, the less effective it actually becomes, because the calculation of the reduction works the same as with the any other armor types. The issue is that it's not giving you exactly this amount of health, and that's because not all the damage you block with bonus damage protection. Oh, no, I'm saying it wrong. the damage your unit takes is partially the base damage and partially the bonus damage. And the bonus damage protection reduces only the bonus damage part. So like once you take the base damage part, which is being reduced by the correct type of armor, then you have to apply the multiplier of that unit against your unit, and that's where the bonus damage protection comes into play. It lowers the multiplier pretty much. And since the unit always does the base damage, so there's like this 100%, and let's say the multiplier is 2, so you have like 100% base damage and 100% multiplier or bonus damage, which is being reduced by the bonus damage protection. So I'm gonna take this as an example. So I have a unit. After the armor reduction, it does 100 damage, and that's together with the multiplier. So it's gonna have multiplier 2 times. So that means it's gonna be 50 base damage, 50 bonus damage. And I'm gonna say I have only the adaptiveness, which is 25%, which is equal to 20% bonus damage reduction. So I'll take the damage. I have to take only the bonus damage part, and I'll lower it by 20%. So 20% out of 50, that's minus 10 damage. So all of a sudden the unit does, instead of 100, it does 90 damage. So the 20% bonus damage reduction actually turns out to 10% damage block. And from there you can see that the total effectiveness of the bonus damage from the Norse milestone in this case is something like 11-12% increased health instead of the 25%. So you can see it's slightly less than 50% in the effective health. And this is why I say that stacking the bonus damage protection is not as good, because you can get huge numbers, but the effectiveness is gonna drop those huge numbers quite heavily. Like, just imagine you have the Babylonian Slinger with the bonus damage in immunity, and there's a unit with 2 times multiplier against range. So the Slinger effectively, even though it's immune lowering the 100%, it effectively lowers the damage taken only by 50%. So the immunity, which would be like infinite number of health, is effectively only 100% health increase. So you can see it's a huge drop. And this is we're gonna get to the main part of this. So we're gonna calculate the effective health of Esfandiyar's bonus damage protection with the health and tunic of Actaeon. I could add the Minotaur's golden high, but you can see it's better than Actaeon. So yeah, if Actaeon is good, Minotaur is gonna be even better. Yeah, and what I wanna compare is the effectiveness of those items is like to Delian Archon with Esfandiyar, and something like ropes of TVs to the Actaeon. So how much health increase? Remember these numbers. It's like 86.7, 87%. So I made a short program. Let's kick to it. Okay, I made a short program where I try to calculate the effectiveness of those items. So what pretty much I have here, I took those items, took their values, so I have the bonus damage protection from adaptiveness, because I'm gonna consider the fact that we are using the Norse milestone. It's really good. Everyone's pretty much using it all the time, and yeah, why would I even switch it? The other Norse milestones for me are like, I don't really care. Then I have the average Esfandiyar bonus damage protection, the average value, same for Actaeon. Then I have also the maximum value for the bonus damage protection. Then I also took their health, so I have the average value. It's not in percentage, it's the actual value, so this is equal to 52.3%. Okay, and yeah, so average and maximum value. So I'm gonna calculate the average values, how average Esfandiyar is effective, how the maxed out Esfandiyar is effective, against specific multipliers. Remember, it also depends on the multipliers you're fighting against. Okay, and then we are gonna calculate the reductions. So I have the basic reduction without any additional items, so only adaptiveness. Then I'm calculating the reduction for the average and maximum values with the items. We're gonna take a look at this. Pretty much it just takes the bonus damage protection from the adaptiveness and the gear. It increases stat wise, so yeah, you take the adaptiveness 1 plus the adaptiveness bonus damage protection, because I'm using only the bonus, so I'm gonna take it like the how it's supposed to stack. So I'm gonna take the 1 plus adaptiveness times 1 plus the gear, which is the total health I would have with normal armor. Then we're gonna obviously turn it into the damage taken, so the percentage how much damage I would take. So 1 over the total bonus damage protection, and then just 1 minus that value for the damage reduction. That's pretty much calculating the reduction. Then yeah, I pretty much just tell what multiplier I want to use. So we're gonna test it with multiple multipliers, and then we're gonna calculate the effectiveness from those, and then it will write me the results, including like the health effectiveness of just those damage protections, and also the total health increase if I include the health. And the effectiveness is pretty much calculated like I said with the slinger. If I have the immunity but there's a unit that has only 2 times multiplier, I effectively only double my health, so 50% damage block effectively. So we're gonna take the multiplier, obviously we're gonna subtract 1, so I get the bonus damage. Then all I have to do is calculate the effectiveness, which is the base. I need to calculate the base effectiveness and gear effectiveness. So base effectiveness is when I have only the adaptiveness, and gear effectiveness is with gear included. Alright, yeah, gear. Okay, and pretty much what I'm doing here is I'll take the bonus damage, which is the multiplier minus 1, divided by the multiplier, so it will tell me the portion of how much the bonus damage actually is. So if I have the multiplier of 2, then bonus damage would be 1, multiplier would be 2, so it effectively the bonus damage is 1/2. And then I'll multiply it with the reduction, so it will tell me how much damage it effectively blocks in proportion to the total damage. Then I'll turn it into the damage taken, and obviously I'll take it into the health increase. So this will be the base effectiveness, will be how much extra health I'll be getting from just the adaptiveness. The gear effectiveness will be how much health am I getting from adaptiveness and from the gear. And then I'll return the value which divides the gear effectiveness and the base effect with the base effectiveness. So at the end I'll get a value which is how much extra health I'll get from the additional gear, which is by dividing the total health or total effectiveness from both gear and adaptiveness and divided by the total effectiveness of only adaptiveness, I'll get like how much extra health I'm getting from it. So if I would have like total health of this like 150%, and without it I would have like 120, then it would be like 150 or 120%, which would tell me how much extra health I would need to reach the 150%. So yeah, this one will tell me how much extra health I'm getting to reach the extra effectiveness. Okay, yeah, like I said, we'll be getting the total value, so it will be effectiveness, which will be like the multiplier it will be like the effectiveness +1. And then also I wrote down the effectiveness with the health values. Okay, now let's get to the program. Okay, here I am. So yeah, I need to input some multiplier, and I'm gonna start with something easier, so it's gonna be at lower values. So we're gonna use the 1.9 multipliers, which you can see in those legendary cards with multipliers as a maximum bonus damage. So we're gonna use this. Let's put this here. As you can see, so the average Esfandiyar's bonus damage protection effectiveness is 1.1087463. So that means this is about 10.87% extra health I'm getting from Esfandiyar when I'm using the adaptiveness. If I don't use adaptiveness, it's obviously gonna be much better effectiveness. But because I'm considering that I'm using adaptiveness, because what else would I use from Norse? This is what I'm getting, and this is what I'm getting from Actaeon, which is less than 10%. But if we take a look at the health we're getting, and these are the average values, okay? So the Esfandiyar's health increase is only 68.86%. That is quite low. 68.86%. Remember, the Delian Archon Cuirass had 86.7%. So this is very low. If we compare this to Actaeon, we have 80.4%. Which in comparison to the Robes of Thebes, it's not that far, right? Only like 7%, but this is way too much. This is like 18%. That's a huge difference. And if we have the fully stacked Esfandiyar Actaeon, so full stats, we can see the effectiveness is like 11% on Esfandiyar, 11.3. On Actaeon, it's actually over 10%. But if we take a look at with the health, you can see that it's still very low for Esfandiyar, 72.4%. That's still pretty far. And on Actaeon, 84.6%. That's much closer, right? Actaeon is really good. Remember, the Minotaur's Golden Height has more health, so at this point you can see that Minotaur already is much stronger than Actaeon. And it definitely gets better values than like Robes of Thebes. So Minotaur is a really good item. Remember to get it if you can, but it's very rare, so yeah, be careful. We're gonna continue with this. And I'm gonna use the multiplier of 2.5. This is, I would say, quite standard number. I would say a lot of units are actually using this multiplier. If we consider anti-infantry units, something like Hippaspes, Celtic Longswordsman, Immortal, I think even Cataphract, Babylonian Bowman, there's quite a few units using this multiplier. So let's use it. Okay, so yeah, if we take a look, the effectiveness is 14.65% on Esfandiyar on average. Getting better. On Actaeon, it's only 12.9%. Still pretty good, but if we take a look at the effective health, you can see Esfandiyar is still pretty far. 74.6%. That's quite low. It's still very low. It's still below like Rostam and Gilgamesh cuirasses with the infantry cavalry armor. But if we take a look at the Actaeon, 85.8%. That's already pretty huge. That's really huge. That's really close to the cloth armor of Thebes. Yeah, it's very close. Really close values. And if we take a look at the maximum, yeah, Esfandiyar is just a little over 15%. Actaeon is 13.46%. But maximum health, look at the Actaeon. Already over 90%. This is really huge. But Esfandiyar is still like 78%. It's still pretty far. And you might be asking, why am I including the average and maximum? I would say it's good. Those are two good values because you wanna get as close to the maximum as you can, but as you all know, it's very difficult to get the maximum stats. So you're trying to get at least above average. So I'm including the average and maximum values, and if you are moving with those stats somewhere in between, then effectively this is what you're getting. So if I had Actaeon with health and bonus damage protection between the average and maximum values, effectively I will be getting something in between, like 85.8% and 90%, which is really good. But you also have to remember this is against units that are using this multiplier. What about those units that don't have the multipliers? Bonus damage protection doesn't do anything. It's literally effectively giving you zero value. So effectively you will have only the health the items are giving you. So those new legendary quests that actually don't have the base multiplier, yeah, it makes it much worse for bonus damage protection. Effectively, even the adaptiveness is quite useless. But you have to remember, there are also always those units that counter your units. So if you're going with infantry, you're playing the Zabul quest, there are always immortals, and those immortals have this multiplier 2.5. So you can tell that against immortals, you're still getting really good values with Actaeon, but with Esfandiyar, it's pretty bad. But also let's take a look at the armor we're getting here. So from Actaeon, effectively we're getting like 13.46% armor. And this is good to compare with item like Set's Best Vest, because Set's Best Vest gives you over 20% pierce armor, and I think it's about 13.5 on average infantry armor. So you might consider using some other cloth armors instead of Actaeon, because effectively you might be getting better values, at least on some quests, because I think some of the quests are not even using like calorie, but what was the name of that one? Where you have to defend Bahram. I don't remember. I forgot the name. Yeah, you're pretty much fighting mainly infantry and siege, right? So you see like Sparabaras, Spearmen, Immortals, and some war wagons. So that's melee infantry damage and pierce damage. And which one would you pick at that point? Would you pick the Actaeon, which effectively maxed out gives you like 13.46%, or Set's Best West that gives you 13.5 infantry but also 20% pierce? Actaeon would be effective only against immortals, so this would be only against immortals. Yeah, pretty much clear answer would be the Set's Best West because it gives you much better value, right? So yeah, we have to think about this as well. That we have like different units, not all like, yeah, there are units that don't have the multipliers, but there are also units that have the basic multipliers, so remember to include those. So it depends how many of those with multipliers the enemy trains and how high the multipliers actually are. So at this point we can see that this can be like, why do I pick Actaeon when I can go Set's Best West and get much better value? We're gonna still continue, okay? This time let's go with some high number. Let's go with 4. We're gonna jump straight for the number 4, which I think that's what you reach with units that already have like really high base multiplier, something like Egyptian Axemen or Greek stuff like this. But remember, they are not like many anti-infantry units. If if we include cavalry into this, then obviously you don't have to look far for anti-cavalry unit. Just go with spearmen and you can even see higher multipliers. So let's go with 4. And as we can see, Esfandiyar's bonus damage protection on average, it's not even 20%, it's close to 20%, it's not effectively there. But if we take a look at the health, it's still pretty low. It's getting close, but it's not as high as the Delian Archon's health. That's the average one. If we take a look at the maximum one, effectively it's over 20%. And the total health, I mean, it finally got over the Dealing and Archon. So effectively, yes, it's 86.97%. But you have to remember, this is against units that have the multiplier of 4. And there's not many of those units. Like, yeah, you can find them. And this is also why I want to know about the co-op. So I can tell for sure if it's like, if in co-op they're having higher multipliers, then I guess this would make reasonable argument why to pick Esfandiyar, because then you could go with the multiplier. We had the 2.5, so if you compare the number values of 2.5 and 4 times, like we could go even higher. So if it's even higher, it's gonna be even better. But yeah, if you compare like these two values where we are moving between, yeah, I guess Esfandiyar can be good there. Just remember how many units the enemy has that actually have these high multipliers, because effectively, like, okay, are you getting this item because of only these few units which you can counter in some other way, like maybe using your own siege, your own ranged units to snipe them, whatever. Yeah, so if we take a look at the Acta on average, that's a pretty good value. That's already really good value. I mean, already at 2.5 multipliers, Actaon is really winning. It's really good. But I think the main point of this video was like, think about where you're using the bonus damage protection. If you are going against quests where the multipliers are not really that high, the bonus damage protection is not gonna be that good for you. But if there are high multipliers, it can be really good. As you can see, effectively on Actaon, it's really good. And second thing, Esfandiyar is really bad. God damn, it's so bad. Like, remember, we had to reach like this point where the multiplier is 4, and it's still like not really that good. How many units do actually get the multiplier of 4 or higher? That's the question. Like, if the in co-op the enemy units are getting the higher multipliers, sure, I guess there can be a few units getting there, but everything else, not that effective. But I'll see. If anyone sends me those screenshots from those co-op unit stats, preferably late game, okay? Remember, I wanna see those maximum stats if possible. I guess that's all I have to say. So yeah, bonus damage protection, it's good. The higher the multipliers the enemy has, the better it becomes. If the enemy has really low or none at all, it's not gonna be that useful. It's gonna be good only against those units that counter your units. But remember to consider the damage of the other units that the bonus damage protection doesn't do anything against. Because if their damage is not really that high, well, you don't really have to worry about them, right? Okay, tell me what do you think about this. And if you feel like I said something wrong, yeah, just tell me in the comment section. That's all I have to say, so thanks everyone so much for watching. Like this, share this, subscribe, comment. Hopefully someone will send me those screenshots. And yeah, I'll see you next time. So bye.